Good morning. This is my Walmart llama card. I think I'm going to send out Christmas cards early. It's the fifth weekend, I believe. Quarantine. Hope you all are doing okay. And have a good Sunday. It's mid-April. I'm not sure exactly when. So I'm going to try not to move the camera around. I hope that helps. Or we already did some of this. Those who escorted Paul brought him to Athens. While Paul was in Athens, he was greatly distressed to see that the city was full of idols. Poseidon, Artemis, Zeus, I don't know. So he reasoned in the synagogue. There's Paul distressed and sad. Hi, Paul. So he reasoned in the synagogue with both Jews and God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace day by day with those who happened to be there. So he reasoned, he talked sense and was smart and talked with in the synagogue, the Jewish church, temple, talked with Jews, God-fearing Greeks, and whoever happened to be there. So maybe God happened to put you somewhere in the right place at the right time. I know I went to a Chinese church in college, and that's where I was baptized, because my roommates happened to be Chinese. God works things out. So this is Paul reasoning in the marketplace. And there's the people selling their things or their wares. A group of Epicureans and Stoic philosophers began to debate with him. Some of them asked, "What is this babbler trying to say? Babble, babble, babble." Like Babylon, doesn't make sense. He seems to be advocating foreign gods. So here's some philosophers. Greece is famous for their thinkers and their philosophers. And they say, what is he trying to say? This person says he seemed to be promoting or advocating foreign gods. He's talking about foreign gods, and Paul is debating with them. Talking about it. I bet he's a good debater. I tend to get angry and emotional, but I would love to see Paul debate and reason. They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. So here's Paul preaching Jesus and the resurrection of him coming back to life. They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. I have some good news. We love good news. I don't love bad news. Then they took him and brought him to a meeting of the Areopagus. Acts 17:19. So here's the Areopagus, whatever that is. May we know what this new teaching is that you are presenting. You are bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we would like to know what they mean. So this guy has some strange ideas, or has heard some. You are bringing strange ideas, strange teaching to our ears. We would like to know what they mean. Please let us know. All the Athenians and the foreigners who lived there spent their time doing nothing but talking about and listening to the latest ideas. We know people like that who just like to talk about new ideas. Maybe they had a lot of money and extra time. Or they sincerely like talking about new ideas and searching for things. So hopefully they're searching for truth. Paul then stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus, or however you say that. People of Athens, I see that you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, to an unknown God. So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship, and this is what I am going to proclaim to you. So my Bible study BSF, we learned that Paul was very nice. People of Athens, I see that you are very religious. So he kind of complimented them, or he was positive. He said, I was walking around your city, and I see that you have an altar with the inscription, the writing, to an unknown God. So this person that you worship, you don't even know him. I even found an altar with this inscription, to an unknown God. So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship, and this is what I am going to proclaim to you. This is what I want to tell you. This is my word for you. God, who made the world and everything in it, does not dwell in temples made with hands. Acts 17:24. So if we make something, God doesn't dwell in the object. He's more in people or creation. God, who made the world and everything in it, does not dwell in temples made with hands. Acts 17:24. Nor is he worshipped with men's hands as though he needed anything. He gives to all life, breath, and all things. So he's giving this to them, life, breath, in all things. And has made of one blood all nations of men to dwell on all faces of the earth. So he's made one blood of all nations to dwell on all faces of the earth. So there's one blood. From one man he made all nations of the earth. One nation, two nation, three nation. All the nations of the earth made from one man. And we studied that in college too. And that everything came from one woman, I think. That they should seek the Lord in the hope that they might grope for him and find him, though he is not far from each of us. Acts 17:27. So grope, that they should seek the Lord, look for, see the Lord, and the grope. Grope is like you're blind, help, 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 groping. People may grope and find him, though he's not far from each of us. So, here we are in isolation and alone, but God is not far from us. God, where are you? He's groping, he's looking. And God is there. Thank you, God. Here I am. He's there even in quarantine, too. For in him we live and move and have our being. Acts 17:28. In him we live and move and have our being. We do everything in him. There's a family in him. We live, we move, we have our being. Our lifestyle, I guess. So with quarantine, this is all taken away from us. We still have our families, we have our faith, but missing everything else except God. Some of your own poets have said, for we are his offspring. So a poet is somebody who is artistic and writes short verses. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. So some of your own poets have said that they are God's offspring. They're from God, I guess. Since we are his offspring, we ought not to think that the divine nature is like gold or silver or stone, or something shaped like art in man's devising, man's creation. Acts 17:29. So since we are his offspring, we ought not to think that the divine nature is like gold, precious metal, silver, stone, or something shaped like art and man's devising. So we shouldn't worship the created, but worship the creator. This is gold, silver, or stone shaped by art and man's devising. Don't worship the idol. And I probably shouldn't have a crown there, because I always think of God with a crown and not as a statue. In the past, God overlooked some ignorance, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent. Hey, everywhere people repent. In the past, in history, he would overlook things. Overlook it. you're ignorant, you don't know, overlook such ignorance, unknowing. In the past we didn't know, but now we know. And everybody needs to repent and change and come to God. That sounds like a good word for modern times. For he has set a day when he will judge the world with justice by the man he has appointed. He has set a day, this day, for he has set a day when he will judge the world with justice. I'll set a day when I will judge the world with justice. By the man he has appointed. I think that's Jesus. Judge the world with justice by the man he has appointed. He has given proof of this to everyone by raising him from the dead. Yes, that's Jesus. Jesus raised from the dead. I should have a dead body right there. I'm alive. Praise the Lord. So this guy, powerful man, God, person, Trinity member, he will judge us and judge the world with justice. So we don't have to be worried. He's going to judge with justice. When they heard about the resurrection of the dead, some of them sneered. Made a face, maybe. When they heard about Jesus and the resurrection of the dead, some of them sneered, but made faces. But others said, "We will hear you again on this matter." So we want to be open to God. We will hear you again on this matter. And then others sneered. Ha ha, mockers, resurrection of the dead. At that, Paul left the council. Some of the people became followers of Paul and believed. Okay, Paul says, Paul leaves the council, the people, the leaders. Some of them became followers and believed. I guess Dionysus, Damaris, others will go with you. And I guess others left, but it doesn't say that. But I'm finding that some people are with you and some people leave. Acts 18:1. After this, Paul left Athens and went to Corinth. There he met a Jew named Aquila, a native of Pontus, who had recently come from Italy with his wife because Claudius had ordered all Jews to leave Rome. So after this, Paul left Athens and went to Corinth. There he met a Jew named Aquila. I want to say Aquila, but I'll say Aquila. Aquila says, "Hi, nice to meet you." They're Jewish, and they had come from Italy. Here's Rome, Italy, the boot of Italy. God be with Italy. Italians. And Claudius had ordered everyone to leave, all Jews to leave Rome. Claudius made all Jews leave Rome. Here's the boot. They were both tent makers, Acts 18:3. So I think Aquila and his wife were tent makers, or Paul and Aquila were tent makers. I'm not sure. So this is a job, we say a tent making job, job that a Christian will do while they preach on the side or they do church work on the side. So these guys were tent makers. That was their day job or their night job. Probably day job. He stayed and worked with them. Every Sabbath he reasoned in the synagogue, trying to persuade Jews and Greeks. Excuse me. So he reasoned, talked in the synagogue, trying to persuade Jews and Greeks. I have a hard time with that. Who's open and who is not open? I want everybody to be open. Acts 18:5. When Silas and Timothy came from Macedonia, Paul devoted himself exclusively to preaching, testifying to the Jews that Jesus was the Messiah. So So when Silas and Timothy came from Macedonia, I should have a word Macedonia right there. Silas and Timothy came from Macedonia. Paul devoted himself exclusively to preaching. So he only preached, and I guess Silas and Timothy did the other work, the tent making, testifying to the Jews that Jesus was the Messiah. So that's interesting. I didn't even realize this, that Paul only preached at this time, just like we hire preachers, pastors, to only preach. But when they opposed Paul, when they went against Paul and became abusive, he shook out his clothes in protest and said to them, "Your blood be on your own heads. I am innocent of it. From now on, I will go to the Gentiles." So the Jews opposed him at the synagogue. They're mad there, like a cartoon, Ed Emberley's cartoons. The Jews became abusive and opposed Paul. He shook out his clothes. I guess that means like shaking out the dust of your feet. He shook out his clothes in protest. Well, hey, I'm going to do that to somebody. I wonder if anybody literally does that nowadays. So he shook out his clothes in protest and said, "Your blood be on your own heads." So I need to have a head right here with some blood coming down. Your blood be on your own head. Your problems, your salvation. I am innocent of it. From now on, I will go to the Gentiles. So Paul gets rid of the abusive Jews and goes to the house of justice, a worshiper of God, and he's going to, I should say, I will go to the Gentiles. He goes to the non-Jewish people. Crispus, the synagogue leader, and his entire household believed in the Lord, and many of the Corinthians who heard Paul believed and were baptized. So it wasn't all the Jews. Oh dear, it was just Crispus, the abusive one. Crispus, the synagogue. I don't. Hey! Quiet. Okay. I'll finish this up. Crispus, the synagogue leader. Okay, I better go. Have a good Sunday. We'll look at this tomorrow. Crispus became a Christian, the leader of the synagogue, and then Paul is going to have a vision. Okay, have a good Sunday.